Seeing all those hugs with folks in the village, seeing Frog's jokes, it's just beautiful, just beautiful. And the flying instruments of karma are down at the Saturday Market right now, and we're streaming live at the Saturday Market here at the Community Village. I'm broadcasting live from Eugene's own historic Wow Hall. I'm Sam Rutledge. I'm going to read you a quick poem, The Best Days of Our Lives. No one finds nirvana in a spreadsheet, but it is there, in the interstitial space between the cells. I can't think of enlightenment with 18 tabs and 22 document windows open. I have to remind myself that one day in the future, memory will focus the diffuse light of today into a bright beam, bright enough to burn through all the emails and the memoranda, revealing what lies beneath. These may be the best days of our lives. This is not a guilt trip or an invitation to ignore the responsibilities we carry for this mountain of minutia, such has been said too often. Our minutia is real and meaningful. The droning noise of it may drown out meaning in the moment, but the meaning is not gone. And memory is a solvent in which details dissolve. The future will reveal the signal through the noise. One day I will remember all of this. All I will remember of this will be blue sky and light breeze through the open window. Well, that was my poem that I read for you. And now I found this interesting tool here and I wasn't sure what it was, but then somebody said it might have something to do with geology and it got me thinking about earthquakes.
Did somebody say earthquake?
I did.
Wow.
Come on in.
I love talking about earthquakes. Can I join you?
Yeah, please.
Awesome.
Who are you?
I'm Earth. You know, you've heard about Earth Day?
Earth Day.
I'm Earth J.
Earth J.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Earth J.
Well, Earth J, we're so lucky to have you here and so glad to have you here.
I'm lucky to be here.
Yeah. So,
hey, everyone.
Can you tell me what is an earthquake?
What's an earthquake?
Yeah.
Well, you know, if you've ever been walking down the street and tripped over your shoelaces and fell on the ground, you would think that the earth is pretty hard.
Yeah.
But if you look at it a bigger picture, it's very elastic, like the elastic in your underwear, if it still works, unlike my underwear, which I need to be replace the elastic.
Okay.
So it moves and folds around. And so the earth has all these, there's the inside of the earth and the outside of the earth. On the outside is a hard crust that's elastic and it moves around. And when part of the crust moves one way and the other part of the crust moves the other way, it's stuck like Velcro. It's stuck like Velcro and it bends until the forces are stronger than the strength of the Velcro. And then there's a break and that break slips. And that is what an earthquake is.
Okay, so an earthquake is like if you got Velcro holding your shoes on and then it gets pulled and it doesn't come off right away, but then it gets pulled just so much and then all the Velcro kind of goes
all of a sudden.
All at once.
Yep, and you have an earthquake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about where we are here. We're in Eugene in the historic Wow Hall.
Wow.
And wow.
Amazing. So much history here.
It is.
Wow. Workers of the world.
Yeah, this is a beautiful building.
Yeah.
But anyway, but here in Eugene, do we get earthquakes here? I've never really felt one.
So do you think you won't feel one?
I mean, I hope not.
Yeah, we all hope we won't feel an earthquake.
Yeah.
Smaller ones are fun. The bigger ones aren't so fun.
Okay.
But we are along a plate boundary, so we have the plates and they're moving side by side. And where those plates meet is a plate boundary. Here, I can make a real quick map.
Oh, perfect.
Of where we are.
Wow, you brought a chalkboard?
Hey, I brought a chalkboard.
That's great.
So here we have Washington and Oregon and California. All right, in the Gulf of California. Yeah. And lots of people know about the San Andreas Fault, which moves side by side. So I'm going to draw some arrows, and they're in the right orientation. So this plate is moving this way, and this plate is moving that way. Can people see that? Oh, thank you. And so the San Andreas Fault comes up to just in Northern California, and then it turns into a different type of a fault. Here we have Vancouver Island.
Okay.
And it turns into a different fault where the plates are moving towards each other like that.
Oh, okay.
And so here we are in Eugene, is right here. So now we're going to do a little exercise because it's hot out, and sometimes people fall asleep when it's hot. So everyone who's watching, including you, we're going to do a little exercise. And so this is an exercise where we put our fingers on our wrist. Okay. And remember, the earth is elastic.
Okay, wobbly.
And so where the fingers are touching the wrist, that's the earthquake fault.
Okay.
And remember the Velcro.
Okay.
And so what happens, this arm is the oceanic plate that is going underneath us.
Okay.
And we are up here on the upper plate, the North America plate.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is we're going to move our elbows towards each other, and we're going to let our fingers and wrists flex. So because the plates are moving towards each other, but the fault is locked, the fingers are going to be dragged down, and the wrist is going to go up.
Okay.
Now, what happens when that fault slips? What's going to happen to our fingers?
They're going to go that way.
Yeah, the fingers are the fault is going to slip, and the fingers are going to go up, and the wrist is going to go down.
Okay.
So in between earthquakes, the fingers go down, and the wrist goes up. During earthquakes, the opposite happens. The fingers go up, and the wrist goes down.
Huh.
And so we know this for lots of different reasons, but there's evidence along the coasts, entire coast of Oregon and Washington and Northern California, where we have evidence of that earthquake-caused subsidence or lowering of the ground. So imagine you're a happy tree growing right above high tide in, along...
Hold on, I got to imagine this.
Okay, imagine.
Okay,
you're a happy tree, you're watching the tides.
I got to get into character.
Okay.
Here we go.
Nice.
Okay, here I am.
Nice.
Okay, I got it. I found
you're watching the tides come in and out.
Oh, this is nice.
But they never get your roots wet.
Yeah.
Because you're just above high tide.
Oh, I like this.
But then there's an earthquake and you subside.
No!
You go down.
That was not fun.
That was not fun. And something's going to happen that's even worse.
Oh, no.
Now the tides are bringing in the salt water.
Oh, no.
And you don't like salt water.
No, I'm a tree.
And as a cycle of life, you're going to die.
Oh.
You're not a happy tree anymore.
Oh.
And then the tides bring in mud, and so the soil that the tree is growing in, the soil, that soil gets buried in mud over time.
Yeah.
And then, but because we're in an earthquake cycle, it starts going up again.
Okay.
And then plants start growing, and we have new happy trees.
Oh, okay, good. Happy tree again.
Happy tree again.
Here we go.
Happy tree again.
Ah, that's nice.
And then there's another earthquake.
Oh, son of a...
Yeah, and this happens over and over and over again. And it basically makes a layer cake stratigraphy. There are layers.
Wait, you just said a word there.
Stratigraphy.
Stratigraphy.
Strata. So strata is a layer.
Oh, yeah, that's like the layered bread pudding that we make. It's a strata.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there are layers on layers and layers of these soils that had happy trees growing in them. And you can go out along the coast, along the bays and estuaries, and you can put a pipe in the ground and pull that pipe out, and it has those layers in there.
Well, it's a country fair, so you're not really allowed to have a pipe.
No, you're not really allowed to have a pipe.
No, I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. Yeah, but you put the pipe, you pull out the layers, and then you can see the layers of,
And then you can get a radiocarbon, so a carbon-14.
Wait, a radiocarbon?
Radiocarbon.
Is that like a transistor radio?
Almost, but not at all.
Not even a little bit?
Not even a little bit, but almost. And basically, carbon has several different isotopes. So they have different numbers of, let's see here.
So wait, carbon is like an
electrons.
Atom.
They have different numbers of
carbon's like an atom.
Yeah, carbon's an atom.
Okay.
And there are different types of carbon, and one of them is radioactive.
Oh.
It's not dangerous.
Okay.
But all that means is that it decays from carbon to nitrogen.
Oh.
So it goes from carbon-14 to nitrogen-14.
Okay.
And that happens over a certain period of time called half-life.
Okay.
So every 5,000 years, half of the carbon is gone, it's turned into nitrogen. So we can use that information, and we can measure the amount of carbon-14 in those soils to find out how old they are.
That sounds really complicated.
It's complicated, but we've calibrated that science with trees.
Okay.
So we can actually, because trees have an annual growth ring.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And so we can actually take a sample out here and a sample here and measure the carbon atoms in them. And then we can also count the rings, and we can calibrate our knowledge of the half-life.
So let me get this straight. You're saying
I know it's a lot.
It's a lot. Okay, so but you're going to take a sample from the muck in the bay, and you're going to look at different layers, and it's going to go back in time down the layers. And you're also going to look at the rings of a tree, and it's going to go back in time down the tree.
Right.
And you're going to use these carbon atoms that some of them turn into nitrogen atoms because they're radioactive. And you can see the same patterns in the goop in the swamp and in the tree in the ring.
In the rings.
Oh, and using that you can figure out where
we have a history of earthquakes going back thousands of years.
Oh my goodness.
So we have some idea about how often these earthquakes happen, and that might help us get an idea of when the next one might happen.
How often do they happen?
So in Central Oregon, they happen about every 400 years. A little less than 400 years.
Well, that's fine. I won't be around for 400 years.
But sometimes they happen in a shorter period of time, like 50 years.
I probably will be around for 50 years.
Yeah. So the last Cascadia subduction zone, which is the plate boundary, is a subduction zone.
That was when we were doing this, was a subduction. Okay.
That's a subduction.
So the Cascadia subduction zone is where we live?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the last one was on January 26th, 1700. So it was 321 and a few years ago.
That's almost 400 years.
That's almost 400 years.
That was what you said was about 400 years.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And other parts of this, like in Seattle, it's about every 450 years. In Northern California, in Southern Oregon, like Cape Blanco, south of Cape Blanco, it happens every 220 years.
Okay.
So, but we don't know when the next one's going to happen. So it's really good for us all to be prepared.
Yeah, so what do we do to prepare? How do we get ready for an earthquake?
So everyone living on shaky ground. If you go to the internet and you search for living on shaky ground, whoops, I can spell sometimes. If you search for living on shaky ground,
living on shaky ground. I'm going to put this in the chat.
And add Oregon to it. There is a guide, a pamphlet that helps you how to make your house safer for earthquakes. And for example, you can attach your heavy furniture to the wall. That way, when the earthquake happens, the heavy furniture doesn't fall on you.
Yeah.
Very simple stuff. A little bit of work goes a long way. And you can learn about having drills, evacuation drills.
Oh, I thought you meant like a drill, like.
Yeah, well, those are also useful for attaching your house to the foundation. So there's a lot in the Living on Shaky Ground document that can help you, prepare for an earthquake.
Okay.
And also for tsunamis, because when that subduction zone, when that fault pushes up, it lifts the water up.
Yeah.
And then that water has gravitational potential. It's high. And it wants to go down.
When you say gravitational potential, you just mean it's going to fall.
It's going to fall.
All right, okay.
So the water is lifted up and it falls back down. Whew. And then just like in a bathtub, how water goes up and down, that's what causes the tsunami.
And then I see.
And so we could have tsunamis too. And we have evidence of tsunamis in the muck, in the mud.
In the muck. How tall are these tsunamis? How big are these waves?
They could be, we think that the Cascadia subduction zone could cause a wave that would reach maybe 30 to 40 feet in elevation.
That seems pretty big.
It's big.
That seems like a pretty big wave.
Yeah, but luckily, the state of Oregon has tsunami hazard maps, and you can learn where the tsunami hazard zone is, and then that's where you need to evacuate out of. So if it shakes really strongly, then you want to evacuate out of the tsunami hazard area.
I've seen signs when I go to the coast that say tsunami hazard zone. And then there's usually at the top of a hill, there's a sign that says this is where you gather. Those sorts of points. So that's what that's about, huh?
It would help everyone if everyone learned about that if they go to the coast.
Okay, so you should know how to get to, whenever you're in that tsunami's hazard zone, how to get to the safe area, the gathering points.
And you want to do it quickly because the tsunami can arrive in 10 minutes or 15 minutes from when the earthquake happens.
Okay.
So you need to leave. Like if it's shaking strongly, you need to evacuate right then.
While it's shaking?
Maybe even if you can while it's shaking.
Oh, wow.
Every minute counts.
That's amazing.
You want to take care of yourself.
Okay.
I want you to take care of yourself.
I want to take care of myself too. And the last thing that I want is to get stuck in a tsunami.
Yeah, no one wants to get stuck in a tsunami.
That doesn't seem very nice. So, so tell me about. So you said about 400 years.
Yeah.
Is there any way to predict when an earthquake is going to come?
Some people try to do that, but it's not possible yet to predict when an earthquake's going to come. We just don't know how to do that yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why we just need to be prepared at all moments.
Okay.
In fact, here in the Willamette Valley, or Willamette, is how it used to be pronounced before we got here. It can shake strongly here too. Oh. And so if you live in Eugene or Portland, I would check to make sure that the building you're in is safe. And one of the types of buildings that's not safe is called an unreinforced masonry building, like a concrete block building that doesn't have metal rebar holding that concrete together. And there are lots of buildings in Oregon that are unsafe, earthquake unsafe buildings. And so it's really good to learn about your surroundings, what type of building you live in, what type of building you work in, although less of us are working in other buildings than our houses. But most of the buildings that people live in are wood frame structures, so the walls are made out of wood, and those are really good at resisting earthquake forces.
Sure, because they'll wobble around a little bit. Wood's kind of bendy.
Yeah, wood's kind of bendy.
So what's the best thing you can do if you find out that your apartment or your office is in one of these unreinforced masonry buildings? Should you just like wear a hard hat when you go to work?
There are two things you can do. One, make sure that the building is retrofitted or fixed.
Okay.
The other thing is to not go in that building anymore.
Oh.
And you probably want to not go in that building anymore, even if it's going to be fixed, because it's going to take a while to fix it.
Oh.
So it's not very smart.
There's nothing really you can do other than that, huh?
Not really.
Oh.
Not really. But the one thing, well, there is one thing. And everyone would do well to know that if there's an earthquake, do you know what you do during an earthquake?
I was always told to get into a doorway.
No!
No?
Don't go into a doorway.
Okay, don't go into a doorway.
No, because the door could slam shut on your fingers.
Oh, not good.
No.
Ow. Ooh.
What you want to do is you want to drop,
Okay. Okay.
cover,
Gotcha.
and what you do is you cover your...
You can't see him, but he's under the table.
I'm under the table and I have my arms over my neck,
He's got his arm like this,
so I'm covering.
like so.
And I'm holding on
Under the table.
under the table.
Okay.
So drop, cover, and hold on. And that table will help protect you. And if you can't get under a table, you can get a book or something like that. Like if you're in a wheelchair or something like that, or if you're in an auditorium and you can't get under a table, you just do that in your chair. Maybe get a book or just your arms and bend down and protect your neck, because you got to protect your neck.
Protect your neck.
Protect your neck.
Gotcha. So you put the table or something heavy over your neck, something hard, and protect yourself.
Yeah. I mean, your arms are good enough.
This is fantastic information. I really appreciate it. Clearing up some misconceptions for folks and teaching us what to do and where to go. And I put in the chat box what to search for, Living on Shaky Ground, Oregon, for folks who are looking for that information.
I'm so glad I heard you say earthquake.
I know. I'm so glad you showed up. All right. Well, Jay, I'm going to introduce our next set of acts, and then we're going to be all good to go. But thank you. So you just stick around for a minute.
Okay, I'll stick around.
You stick around. You want to help me introduce them?
I'm not very good at that, but I will be your moral support.
Okay.
You can do it.
Thanks, Jay.
Do it.
I know I can. So we've got coming up for you Sunheart, Tantric Devotional Acid Folk, and then Brian QTN, a veteran Fair Family musician. And then I'll be back to tell you about what's next.
Yay!